Hello. Today we're talking about Marsy's Law, a constitutional amendment passed by the voters of Florida this past November. This initiative was designed by many in the law enforcement community, victims of crime, and victims advocacy groups to grant greater protections to victims in the criminal justice process. Though well-intentioned, unfortunately the constitutional amendment as it was passed puts many new burdens on law enforcement and left much open to interpretation. I anticipate and hope we will see legislation in the forthcoming legislative session that will help clarify both victims' rights and our responsibilities under the law. As you can see, I've put the language of the amendment on the screen. Take a moment and read through this language, please. For purposes of this amendment, a victim of any crime, person, property, or financial, is entitled to the protections of the law. The highlighted sections reflect those provisions that most affect our operations. The first provision deals with a victim's information. Victims have the right to prevent the disclosure of information or records that could be used to locate or harass the victim or the victim's family, or which could disclose confidential or privileged information of the victim. As a result of this provision, we will be automatically redacting all information from arrest affidavits, incident reports, and other records before they are released. So as to ease the burden this will place on our records unit and other administrative staff, it is incredibly important that all affidavits be written with the minimum information necessary to simply establish the probable cause for the arrest. The practice of typing reports and cutting and pasting the narrative into the affidavit, or vice versa, creates significantly more information to redact. The best course of action is to write all reports and affidavits in the same manner as a sexual battery case, where victims are referred to as V1 or V2 rather than by name. The next right is that a victim shall also be provided reasonable, accurate, and timely notice of any release or escape of the defendant or delinquent, and any proceeding during which a right of the victim is implicated. As a result of this provision, upon request, all victims will be provided the opportunity to receive notifications through the VINE system. Victims have the right to the prompt return of the victim's property when no longer needed as evidence in the case. Our evidence unit already ensures the prompt return of victim property no longer needed as evidence. As always, however, approval from the state attorney's office and involved deputies and detectives must be sought to ensure it is no longer needed. Victims have the right to be informed of these rights and to be informed that victims can seek the advice of an attorney with respect to their rights. This information shall be made available to the general public and provided to all crime victims in the form of a card or by other means intended to effectively advise the victims of their rights under this section. The Victims' Rights pamphlet now given to victims of certain crimes will be provided to victims of all crimes. It will include a new insert stating the rights set forth in this new constitutional amendment. Deputies should also offer every victim the opportunity to fill out a victim statement. If they choose to fill it out, it should be submitted with the arrest affidavit. If they choose not to fill it out, deputies must state in the report that the victim was given the opportunity to provide a written statement and chose not to do so. As stated earlier, more changes are expected after the legislative session that begins this March. I will update you then about any changes to our policies or procedures. In the meantime, as always, please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have. My contact information is on screen, and I welcome your calls 24/7. Thanks.